Hey leaders, question for you today. Are you driven, or are you called? That's a huge leadership question, isn't it? Often what got us into a leadership position is probably our drivenness, our ambition, our desire to overcome obstacles, to learn, to grow, to rise up, to go up the chain. And we've probably all got a bit of that to get into a leadership position, but drivenness isn't going to take us very far. Often the drivenness, we end up driving into a brick wall of burnout and breakdown and no answers anymore by the time we hit 35, 40, 45. But calling is very different. Calling is something that's in the future that calls us forward and draws us forward. It's kind of a compelling that more comes from our hearts, a deep sense of purpose and destiny to do something great in this world. Where drivenness doesn't really come from our heart, and it doesn't come from the future. It tends to be something that we conjure up, something that we use our human strength to drive us. We put our body, our mind, our emotions, everything towards a certain goal that will bring us some kind of satisfaction. We have some kind of objective measure of success that we're going to drive towards. It's going to give us peace and satisfaction and meaning in life. But drivenness always runs out of fuel. The tank eventually becomes empty and we hit a wall. We don't have the motivation anymore. We rise to a position of leadership or position of influence or position that we thought was successful, and it doesn't really work for us anymore. The good feelings run out. Where calling is different. There's still walls and barriers and problems and stresses, but somebody who's called overcomes them and navigates them and works through them. They don't burn out, they don't fall apart. They don't need to have huge crises in order to change the way that they operate, because the calling is coming from the future, and it's not built on my own measures of success. It's built on, am I heading towards the call? And we can always be heading towards a call. A calling person is continuing to head towards purpose and calling to the day they die. It's not something that's limited by success and measures of success that are these earthly human cultural things that are put on us, these kind of blinkers or narrow ways of seeing the world. But calling is something that draws us to the future. We're not even certain of what it will look like exactly, but we understand purpose is out there. Calling always has something to do with people, to do with contributing, to do with connection, to do with leaving a legacy. And it's far greater than money or position or fame, notoriety, and these kind of things. Driven people aim at money, aim at a position, aim at notoriety or fame. And I listened to this great podcast that talked about this, where the idea really came from, or I suppose the tension and the comparison between drivenness and calling, and it spoke about being forgotten. And it really impacted me, because you are going to be forgotten. I'm going to be forgotten. We're a leader for a day and then we're gone, and someone else takes our position. You're forgotten very quickly. Think of who your great-grandfather is, who your wife's great-grandfather is. You don't remember those things or remember those people. People are gone very quickly, and you'll leave your position one day and be gone very quickly. And if you're driven to a position or driven by this kind of status, then you'll be forgotten quickly, and it's not going to bring you a lot of fulfillment. We're to be called from the future and be compelled to go to a place. You understand different leadership positions, different roles in life. They may be at work, they may be, young dad, and then old dad of teenagers, and then you're not really, now you're a dad of adults, and your position changes over time, but your calling, it never shifts, and your purpose never shifts. The satisfaction is never built on things that can change. It's built on contribution, and whether you have the position or not, have the title or not, have the wage or not, it doesn't matter. This can be very hard for leaders that are in business or start their own business, or where there's executive professional type environments where money and prestige and suits and positions and success at work is often tied to who we are, and a lot of drivenness comes in those environments. But my encouragement to you is to really rise above, to make sure that you're focused on a purpose and a calling, and not just driving towards some kind of measure of success that you've come up with. Hope that helps me. Tell me what you think about calling, about drivenness, whether you're called or driven, whether you've had experiences, maybe bad experiences, where you've driven until you've hit a brick wall, and where you've had to change your mindset on leadership and your understanding on how to operate out of a call, rather than to just be driven by your own measure of success.